Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about solving quadratic equations again, but this time we're going to be finding the solutions on a calculator, okay? So make sure you have some sort of calculator on handy, okay? So an example about this is we have x squared plus 8x plus 15 equals 0, okay? So if you go by the steps, the first thing we want to do is plug this equation into y equals. So we have y equals, and we're going to do x squared plus 8x plus 15. I think that's what the equation was. Okay, and so then we're going to press graph and then trace. So graph and then trace. Okay, so then it says plug in the value where the graph crosses the x-axis, then hit enter. There should be 2. Okay. So if you see here at -1, 2, 3, -3, it crosses the x-axis. So we're going to put in -3 and hit enter, and we get y equals 0. Okay. If it shows that y equals 0, then that is a solution to the quadratic equation. So we see that x equals -3 and y equals 0. Okay, so that means x equals -3 is one of the solutions. Okay, if we go back and we type in -5, because that's where I believe it crosses, then -5 also gives us y equals 0. So that means x equals -5 is also another solution. Okay, so those are your two solutions. Okay, and you can also might see them like this: -5, -3. Okay, so let's look at this worksheet. So for the first one, we have x squared plus 10x plus 21. Okay, so if we go to our calculator, we go to y equals, and we have x squared plus 10x plus 21 and hit graph. Okay, and so same thing, we want to press trace after graph, and then we want to see, kind of guess where it crosses. So this one is also -3. So if I type in -3 and hit enter, it gives me y equals 0. So that's one of the solutions. And -4, -5, -6, -7. Let me try -7. That also gives me y equals 0. So that means my solutions are x equals -3 and -7, or -3 and -7. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. So same thing for number 2. Okay, so we have x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, so you go to your calculator, and we have x squared plus 9x plus 20, I believe it's what it was. 9x plus 20. Okay, so we go to graph, and then we hit trace. Okay, so this is fairly close. So let me try 1, 2, 3, -4. Okay, and that gives me y equals 0, so that's good. And let me try the one next over, -5, and that also gives me y equals 0. So that means x equals -4 and -5 are my two solutions, because we want to get y equals 0. So, or you might also see it like this on your test. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. This is really just plug it into the calculator and check your graph. Okay, so let's try another one. X squared minus 6x plus 8. So we go to our calculator. Okay, go to y equals, and we have x squared minus 6x plus 8, and hit graph. And after graph, we hit trace. Don't forget to hit trace. Okay, so we see at +1, +2, I think it's where it crosses. So 2 gives me y equals 0, so that's good. And now let's check 3, 4, x equals 4. And that also gives me y equals 0, so that's good. So our two solutions are x equals 2 and 4. Or, again, you might see it like this as an answer choice. Okay? So these are the steps that you want to follow, okay? When you find the solutions on the calculator, you want to plug an equation into y equals. You want to press graph and then trace. And so then you want to look at the graph and see where it crosses the x-axis, okay? There should be 2, but there's not always going to be 2. Sometimes it'll be none, where there'll be no roots, and then sometimes it'll just be 1 when it's the vertex, okay? You just have to see where it kind, but for the most part there will be 2. So remember, you want it to show that y equals 0, okay? Then if it shows y equals 0, then that's one of your solutions, all right?